Hi, friends. It's I, host Eric. Host Talking with Trans People. I slept well last night, and yet, I still woke up this morning irritated. Irritated at idiots. Idiots or insecure people, or whatever you want to call them. Jason Siegel, I think it was his name. This guy who emailed me a couple times is a textbook example of a complete idiot. And I don't particularly value intelligence, right? Like, I'm not looking for people I engage with to be especially intelligent or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not interested in talking only to people who are super smarty pantses or whatever, you know? Not at all. It's a big difference between an idiot and someone who's not very smart. Idiots invariably think they're smart. That's the problem. You know, when this idiot emails me, tell me how wrong I am about what I say, and has no idea at all about what I say, but just idiotically assumes he can successfully argue against me without knowing what I say. That's the kind of idiocy that just makes me want to punch the wall. It's like, I am here to be engaged about ideas. If you have something serious to say about any of my ideas, say it. I am happy to respond to it. If your idea of saying something serious about my ideas is Eric frequently contradicts himself, and your example is my claim that I'm responsible for figuring out cognitive functions, that's not an example of me contradicting myself. That's you being pissed off at the boldness of my claim. So don't lie about it. You know? It's like and then try to position it as I'm somehow not a reliable thinker because I got so angry at this disingenuity. Of course, it's a sure sign I am a reliable thinker that I got so angry at this disingenuity. Because it's the only proper response to it. Don't coddle idiots. There's no reason ever to coddle idiots. I've come to understand my time is way too valuable. I don't mean in terms of money necessarily. I mean, I'm important too. So I shouldn't waste my time doing things that are pointless pieces of work. Trying to convince an idiot to be less idiotic is the ultimate pointless piece of work. Hi, leaf trimmer. I also thought what happened to leaf trimmer was interesting. YouTube just up and banned his account, you know? He's an example of somebody who pisses lots of people off, but is not an idiot. Pissing me off and being an idiot are different things. But being an idiot will always piss me off. What do I mean by an idiot? I'm talking specifically about this guy who emails me, opening with, I'm a professional psychologist who's getting his PhD, opening with his credentials, and then proceeds to tell me I'm wrong without knowing a single thing I say. And this guy claims to be going for his PhD. He should be deeply, deeply ashamed of himself for idiotically assuming he can negate me without knowing anything that I say. There's no other way to put it. That guy last night in Discord who thought he was going to make some headway with me by attacking me on a claim about my role in figuring out cognitive functions, rather than anything I actually say about cognitive functions, is an idiot. That guy is an idiot because he hates me. He's jealous of me, and he's trying to turn it into some sort of successful attack. It's never going to work. Why? Because he's an idiot. And I'm not. Real idiocy is best attained by people who are just smart enough to attain idiocy. People who don't self-identify as some sort of robust intellectual, I don't ever have any problem with them because they're, taking things on their merits. If Eric says something stupid, they call me out on it. If Eric says something smart, they acknowledge it. Yeah, hate leads and controls some people. Exactly. And, I get that I am quite provocative myself. Not intentionally, but I am very provocative. By which I mean, people don't like to be told, I, Eric, have figured this out, and none of you have figured it out. It's like people do not want to be told that. Yeah, so I just want to say that Grass Eater is a classic example of somebody who doesn't cross the idiocy line, even though he pisses people off a lot. Now, he can be what I would call a needler. He can be a little bit jumpy to conclusions about people's intent. Like I've seen plenty of times where people say something totally innocuous, and Grass Eater goes, "Are you talking shit?" But that's not idiocy, right? He has issues. Yes, he has issues. I agree, but he's not an idiot. I have no idea what Grass Eater's type is. I've never typed him. I'm pretty sure he self-identifies as INTP. Well, you know what, Leaf Trimmer? The fact is, it's fine to claim to be a person of moral superiority. If you are. I claim to be a person of moral uprightedness. Now, look, I get that there's a difference between morally superior and morally upright. But if you're dealing with somebody who's not morally upright, and you are morally upright, then naturally you are morally superior. So, people who claim to be a moral superiority may or may not be correct. Okay? Simply claiming to be morally superior is not in and of itself a bad thing. Nobody likes super judgy people. And yet at the same time, there are certain behaviors that are bad and need to be judged. And so my point about all of that is we should judge the behavior or the words and not the person. And that's one way that idiocy happens all the time. So, leaf trimmer, this is what I'm talking about, leaf trimmer. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She did not do that. She made no claims about your mother at all. She said absolutely nothing about your mother. Okay, well, all right. So the thing is, let's try. Okay, fine. So you're referencing data that's not here. Okay, I get that. That's a fair point. But you get into a lot of personal battles with people, Leaf Eater, that I just think a lot of times I think you're being a little too sensitive and or reading shit into stuff that's not there. Maybe sometimes you're not reading stuff into this. Maybe you're right sometimes. But the point is, when I'm talking with Leaf Trimmer, at least I feel as though there's back and forth going. He's responding to what I'm saying and not just ignoring me. Listen, Mom, sounds like you're getting your SI game on. That's one of the biggest problems that we face today in society, Diamond, is that you can only change your non-biological gender. If only we could actually convert people's chromosomes, then they could really be transgender. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, I guess it would. If wouldn't who would object to that? Would anybody object to that? If there existed in a capacity to take a pill that genuinely switched your sex, okay, so that it took like about a week, but you transformed into a woman, and then it wore off in about a week, and you transformed back into a man. Or in an even more ideal situation, it would take the course of a morning to transform. You'd be a woman all afternoon, and then you'd be back being a man at nighttime, right? If those pills existed, I would totally take those pills. Who wouldn't want to try being a chick for a day? Who wouldn't want to? I would love to have Rachel and I each take that pill. Me turn into this really ugly chick, and her turn into this really feminine dude, and us have sex that way. I think that'd be great. Does that make me transsexual? I would tend to agree that to the best of my knowledge and experience, grass eater has been lawnmower, grass eater, and leaf trimmer. And as far as I can tell, I have no good reason to think he's been anything else. Any claims that he's been somebody else are purely speculative. Now, you might say that's true of all such instances, but I don't know if that's true or not. Leaf trimmer, you've been denied the status of acquaintance. So, what's below acquaintance? Casual enemy? Wouldn't that be fun if they did have a pill, and then all of a sudden all the politics about transgenderism would just disappear, right? If you could just take a pill, and well, what's wrong with being entitled? Being entitled means you're taken care of well. You're spoiled. That's a good thing, you know? It means you're comfortable with yourself, confident. I am entitled. I'm entitled to all kinds of shit. I'm super entitled. But everybody should be entitled, you know? Everyone should feel entitled. But I really think that would well, see, Diamond, you're not making it any better, are you? Is that helping? Because I don't think you can substantiate that claim. I'm pretty sure you can't substantiate that claim. At least it's not at me. It's like when I see other people do it to each other, it's kind of funny. When people do it to me, it's not funny at all. Okay, well, Leaf Trimmer, come on. Let's. I know I say those kind of things too, but it's really bullshit. You don't lose legitimacy forever just because you say some bullshit one time. I know you probably got that from me, but to be honest, it's bullshit. A guide to paint for me. I'm not in the business of having a guide to do yet. Friend, enemy, or potential sexual partner. We size people up quickly within a few seconds of meeting them. I don't. That's interesting. I definitely don't do that. I mean, I sort of have started to around here, sizing up people in the chat. I do, but I've been accused many times of being like naive or gullible about people who are around me who don't mean me, who are ill-intentioned to me, and I have in fact, had to excise people for that reason. As I'm planning to excise I want Talking with Famous People removed from the Discord server. Like, I want the name not associated with it at all. Okay, well, Diamond, even if you're not bullshitting, that doesn't mean you can substantiate the claim. Razor M, I don't know who that person is. Just because somebody agrees with Grass Eater doesn't mean he's Grass Eater, right? It is conceivable that there are people who actually take his side. Other people like him. On the other hand, Leaf Trimmer would also not call Diamond's claim paranoia. There's enough similarity for her intuition to be triggered there. And just because her intuition is triggered and it's not justified by clear empirics doesn't mean that it's bullshit. So, all those things are true. Discord servers breed so much cancer. Well, yeah, I don't want the channeling associated with it at all. So I'll have to contact David Sanderson and tell him to. He never made me a mod or anything, so it was never my server anyway. That's a pretty strong case, Diamond. I have to concede that's a pretty strong case. Pretty strong circumstantial case. I leave Trimmer. She doesn't have issues. She's got sound reason to draw the conclusion that she has. It may still be wrong, but it's not an unreasonable conclusion to draw. I would tend to agree with Diamond also in her own self-assessment that she does not have issues. And it's not. And the other thing is, having issues is not a bad thing. It's what everybody starts out as, and it's something that we work through. You know, we all have some issues, but to the extent that it's fair to say that somebody has issues, it means it's interfering significantly in their capacity to deal with people fairly or honestly or something. And that's not the case with Diamond. I've never seen it to be the case. The point is, I would really like to have everybody attack behaviors and words rather than people. And that's one of the frustrating things about the Discord server last night. When I come in there and I'm told immediately right off the bat that I frequently contradict myself. You might say, well, that's an attack on your behavior, Eric. You're frequently contradicting yourself. No. That's a false attack on my words. A real attack says, you've contradicted yourself here, where you said meow, but here you said meow. Can you reconcile that contradiction? That's a real way to approach a contradiction. When you say, Eric, you frequently contradict yourself, you're not doing that explicitly. You're doing the opposite. You're saying you are a person who can't be relied upon to engage in discourse honestly because you frequently contradict yourself. Saying, Eric, you're like Cloud. But I'm not like Cloud. I don't frequently contradict myself. And so it's an inaccurate description of my person. But most importantly, it's a description of my person. It's not an attack on any of my ideas, anything I say, or any of my behaviors. It's purely ontological attack. And that's the clear difference okay? Now, look. Leaf Trimmer, let this thing go. Even if you're in the right, you're not winning the argument right now. So just let it go. That's one of the skills that will be, it's very difficult for me to develop. And I suspect very difficult for you to develop. We both need to work on. Is letting shit go. Let's all get along, I agree. I want to go back to my, I think, revolutionary notion that would change everyone's perceptions of transgenderism. If, in fact, it were super easy to switch back and forth, right? You take a pill in the morning, and you're a chick for a day, you know? And it changes your chromosomes and everything. So you're like a full blast chick. And then it wears off by the end of the evening. I mean, is there anybody who would say it's wicked to do that? I don't think so. I think everybody would go like, well, that sounds kind of fun. I could squeeze my boobs all day, you know? I would want to try it for sure. It's just, as long as I could be guaranteed that this was safe, it had been tested. A lot of people done it, and it works fine, and no side effects or anything. You come back a regular old dude, you be a dude and jack off all day. I mean, I wonder if like what would happen if you with your sexuality, quote unquote, like if you're normally attracted to women and you become a woman, would you retain that attraction to women? But the point is, if you could do that, I don't think anybody would have all these moral objections to transgenderism, right? Because the moral objections to transgenderism that have any legitimacy, from my perspective, are those that focus on quote unquote body dysmorphia. But that's because in the current status quo, actually physical changing genders requires very, very damaging elective surgery, you know? I'd have to figure out how to breastfeed myself. Look, in my opinion, Leaf Trimmer, will you stop being fighty? We're chatting about transgenderism right now. I know that's the thing. I think all people recognize the fact that like chicks are attractive and boobs are attractive. Whether you're a woman or a man, everybody realizes that women are fundamentally more attractive than men. Like the shape of them is aesthetically pleasing, and in ways that a man's shape is not aesthetically pleasing. I think that's just sort of universally true in a non-sexual way, you know? So that's like, you know, men look at magazines of attractive women back before the internet without their clothes on. Women look at magazines of attractive women with their clothes on. Note that nobody's looking at magazines of attractive men except for gay males. Arnold Schwarzenegger had an attractive physique. See, you know, I gotta say, as somebody who feels like I'm not afraid to say, hey, you know, that's a very handsome guy right there. I'm not afraid to say that. I don't find that physique aesthetically pleasing at all. I think that being all muscly looks silly. I remember when there was Playgirl magazine. I mean, yeah, you see some handsome men. Sometimes I see, well, I mean, I know he's not a human man, but Trouble, the cat that comes around here, is an extraordinarily handsome gentleman. I've often said if I were a cat, he might be able to turn me gay. See, it's like it makes sense that an INTJ would be a bodybuilder because it's so FE polar. Nobody's impressed by your big muscles. I hate to tell you. Yeah, well, Arnold, that's because Arnold's maid's son is also Arnold's son. Listen. Sleeping with the help is an old European tradition. Okay? It's a European thing. You wouldn't understand Leaf Trimmer. He's from Germany or Austria or someplace like that. You think Mike Tyson is handsome? You have terrible taste in men. Let me think of some men who I think are handsome. I think the guy who plays Space Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, I think he's a handsome guy. He's a handsome guy. I like his mustache. He pulls off mustache well. Chris Pratt. Yeah, I think he's a handsome guy, and he's not skinny, but he's not all muscly, you know. I also, I guess, when I think of handsome, I'm trying to think of handsome guys, I end up thinking of likable guys, you know, people in movies and stuff that I've liked, characters and stuff that I've liked, found appealing, and it's not really the same thing as handsome, I guess. Let's see. Jailbait guys? I don't know what will qualify as a jailbait. You mean like young boys or something? I'm talking about men that I find handsome. Leaf Trimmer, why would you go there? Men that I think are kind of handsome. I've come up with one example so far. Okay, well, Leaf Trimmer, just stop. You don't need to make everything weird. Let's see. Other men that I think are fairly handsome. You know, I think Mitt Romney is fairly handsome. He's a handsome guy. You know, I don't know what he looks like now, but back when he ran for president, like, 15 years ago or whatever, I remember thinking, that's a handsome guy. He's got a good politician's face, like he looks trustworthy. Other people I think are handsome guys. So far, I've come up with Chris Pratt and Mitt Romney. I mean, Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is a handsome man. There's no disputing that. Nobody can dispute that Denzel Washington is a very handsome guy, because Denzel Washington is known. One of the reasons why he's handsome is his face is extremely symmetrical. Whereas, like, some movie stars were never handsome. Like, I always thought Sylvester Stallone was funny looking, but he was a successful star, even though he was a weird looking dude. He had bad genes. You agree on Denzel and Mitt, but they don't have sexy bodies? Well, I guess I'm not really thinking about their bodies, but I'm thinking about handsome men. I'm thinking more about their faces. Ronaldo. Ronaldo is a classically handsome guy, right? Like Chuck Norris. I guess I wouldn't kick him out of bed for eating crackers. I mean, if you're gonna have one gay experience in life. Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is not a bad choice. I mean, it's gonna be kind of rough, probably, but at least you'll be able to say, "Hey, I got fucked by Chuck Norris." Eric, look at Winston Mom's link. It's about male beauty in depth. Well, you know, there are actually people, believe it or not, who think that I'm handsome. And like this just goes to show you that people are much more influenced by their perceptions about the person as a whole than by the actual physical appearance. Because by any objective measure, I am not handsome. But I actually believe that there are people in the world who find me handsome. So it just goes to show you, you know. Right, I got a good personality, and people conflate that with looks, with men especially, you know. And yeah, when I'm groomed up, I look a little bit better than when I'm not groomed up. See, I made the mistake. I did the thing that I love to do. I can't help but do. How can you not help but do this? Which is pet the cat. Then I start getting cat dander on me. I get itchy. Look at this glorious beauty. Oh my goodness. How can you not pet that? I could just pet that forever. It's like my hand just wants to go over there and pet, you know. It's drawn to the cat. It's very nice of you to say, Winston's mom. But I gotta tell you, this kitty, she really captures my heart. That's good FI. It's like, I love loving my kitty. Leaf trimmer, why? There's nothing about what she said. It's not like she was trying too hard. That is a person who knows who she is and is telling you who she is. I'm a cute, tiny little INFP woman leaf. That's somebody who knows who she is. It's not trying too hard. 3'2", Christopher Moody. Ghost Rider is 3'2". No, she's cold and hard. She's cold, hard, and 3'2". Don't exaggerate your height, Ghost Rider. You are not 5'5". You're 3'2". You're 3'2", 35 pounds. 60 years old, 3'2", 35 pounds. I hope she's not full of spiders. Given that she's a ghost rider, spiders wouldn't be totally out of her milieu. If you don't mind me using the word milieu. Don't you think we should use the word milieu more often? I do. My very first girlfriend had that basic frame. She was about 5'5", 100 pounds. She was like super skinny. There's something fun about little tiny girls like that because you can fling them around the room. Eric, would you prefer to be compared to a celebrity as being the better version of them or being a less good one? I would prefer to be considered compared to a celebrity as not yet a celebrity and hoping to become one someday at some point. Kitty's not full of spiders. Happy Christmas to you too, Ashley A. Regarding physical similarity, I mean, I don't think there's any kind of. I don't think that there's any sentence that goes like this. Compared to most celebrities, Eric physically is more or less, yeah, that really makes any sense. Because I don't think there's really that much uniformity among the celebrity body types. Fuck, I just remembered. I'm out of cat food. Not cat food, fish food. I have to get more fish food for the fish. Last night, I tried to feed the fish cat food. I don't think they liked it very much. A great idea, a great movie idea. Special ops meet special ops. What does that mean? Are me and Rachel planning a ski trip live? No. First I've heard about it. Who has Rod McEwen has the most poignantly beautiful voice ever. It's hard for me to click YouTube links from here. I have to copy the link, remove something from it, and then put it into a new thing because I don't know. It doesn't want me to open other YouTube videos from here or something. If you were only half full of spiders, you just eat a bat, which would eat the spiders. And what would you have to eat the bat? A bat-eating viper? Then a mongoose to eat the snake, of course. But what eats mongoose? Oh, like that. Well, obviously, I'd prefer, if I was going to be compared like that, you're basically a worse version of Mia or a better version of Mia. Obviously, I'd prefer to be called a better version of Mia. But I'm pretty confident people wouldn't call me a worse version of Michael Richards. They'd probably call me a better version of Michael Richards because Michael Richards kind of fell out of favor. Do you remember the theme song from the movie Alfie? No, I don't. I don't remember. We're trying to get all these animals out of Ghost Rider. She's ill-advisedly consumed some sort of animals that live in her stomach, and the only way to get rid of them is to consume more animals. You may be familiar with this phenomenon from the childhood song. It's, it's like I always say, don't mess around with eating flies. That's the gateway drug. Okay? If you eat flies, some of them are going to end up living in your stomach. And then you're going to have to eat spiders. And then you're going to have to have this whole chain of events. And before you know it, you're going to have to eat a Bengal tiger in one swallow. So that's why I always advise Are you just saying random shit, Ashley? Are you just like picking random words or what? If I could lay eggs, I probably would do it, given that there are no spiders around. Bats don't lay eggs, but they do carry the Rona. It's a good reason not to eat bats. Ghost Rider, Leaf Trimmer is correct. Bats don't carry hoaxes. They just carry coronavirus. Oh. I feel you, Ashley A. If you are on your phone, boy, I hate doing anything on my phone. It's too small. My fingers are too fat. Slab City, Cornelius Van Gogh. I've been to Slab City. I have been to Slab City. Slab City is a place, a real place in California. And Slab City is sort of like defunded police zone before that became popular, I guess you'd say. It's an ex-military base where they took down all the buildings, but they left all the slabs that were there for foundations. And that's why it's called Slab City. It's out in the middle of the desert, and a bunch of random people live out there. Homeless people, you could call them, some of them. Some of them you would call like hardcore RVers or something. Like, there aren't any hookups out there, but people go out there with like a trailer or something. And there's a lot of slabs. Yeah, it's proto-homeless town. But homeless town is going to be a lot better than Slab City because there's going to be services there. People who live in Slab City are called Slavians. They might be. I went there on there's a video, I think, about it. Jewel and Kimberly and I went there and drove around. So, it's one of those places where you go and if you're going to be there, you have to bring everything with you because there's no electricity. Some people bring generators and shit, How is Kim? I have no idea. I have no idea. And my experience with Kimberly, one of the takeaways from it was I can't do that anymore. I cannot have any more failed relationships. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Outer self, 5 points. It's like being an SI user means that I build up, and being an any dom SI user means I'm constantly telling myself stories. So it's like when I'm with Kimberly, I'm telling myself stories about me and Kimberly that stretch on from now until the end of our lives. Because I'm assuming my relationship is not going to fail. The problem when I split up then is I've got this whole set of narratives that don't fit anywhere anymore in my life, and yet I still have invested time, emotion, and attention into. And so it took a while to process all of that after the relationship. I segued straight into a new relationship, but there was still a bit of a mourning process that occurred. I feel bad for Kimberly. I wish that we had never gone out. I'd just been friends with her from the first place, and it had never gone that way. I liked her, it's like I liked her as a friend, and I didn't like her at all as a relationship partner. Salton Sea, maybe. If that fails, Jewel. The thing is, for people who are on the younger side, say under 30 or so, you're going to have a lot of fairly short relationships, possibly. And if Diamond's correctly interpreted what I was saying. The problem is that those narratives in my head have weight that are significant to me, and when abruptly a whole raft of narratives becomes invalidated, it's quite ontologically disturbing. And so that's exactly what happened. Is the future plan or vision includes, it's not just one plan or vision, it's a bunch of different little components of narratives, and this whole raft of them all of a sudden becomes invalidated. Oh, beauty. Oh, glorious magnificence. You are the eighth wonder of the world. Hi, Matthew. I'd like to introduce you to the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah, I mean, look, I certainly keep in touch, or have kept in touch, with my ex-wife because we had a kid together. It wasn't really her kid, but she's more of a mother to Delilah than Delilah's biological mother, in my opinion. Shakira Obano, no. The answer to that question is no. Well, future visions can work great with romantic relationships if you're in the right one, I like to know, but this is what it really boils down to for me. Is not so much a future plan as knowing that in the future, this other individual is going to be the person who's with me the whole time. Well, water zero, it's perfectly fine to not see a point in relationships. If you are, especially if you are somebody who's especially if you are if you're self-preserving type. If you're self-preserving type, I really think there's a lot to this following taxonomy. Keeping in mind, it's just a taxonomy, okay? I'm not making any kind of claims beyond this is a good way to categorize people, okay? Self-preserving, SX, and social. Candace, my ex-wife, was an SO type. What was most important to her was being part of a larger community. And the couple was subsumed by that, you know. As a couple, we are part of this larger community called the larger family and stuff like that. With Kimberly, she was self-preserving. She did not fundamentally feel as though life worked best and was most natural as part of a two-person team, but when she was responsible for herself. So that was somebody me going on the self-preserving type. None of those relationships worked, in part because we have different ideas about what comprises the ideal way to go through life. Rachel and I are both SX, which is to say, we want to be part of a two-person team. I don't care that much of the time, Rachel and I are just sitting in the same room, not talking or just watching TV or sitting in different rooms or whatever. It's important to me to know that I'm not alone, that I've got my partner. For me, that's why I want to be in a relationship. In sort of an ideal world, people would go, you know, I'm with Rachel because I love her so much and she's so special to me. But the fact is, I'm with Rachel because I need to be in a relationship, because I want to be in a relationship. And it worked out in this case that I got the right person and discovered that I actually am in love with her and do feel all those things and stuff. But the problem with the mechanics of being in relationships is you need to be in a relationship before you can determine that. At least I do. And so, hence my history of terrible relationships. But when I did finally find the right person, and what was interesting is what preceded this relationship is something that had never preceded any other relationship, which was a state of limerence, where I was obsessed with this person, and like they were my choice, you know. Instead of me, I'd always thought, well, since emotions don't matter, I have a big advantage in dating. Since emotions don't matter, I have a big advantage. I don't have to pick somebody I like. I can settle for whomever. This is the sort of idiocy that bipolar leads to. Okay. So, you know, Rachel and I, the most important thing about me and Rachel and why we work so well together is that we are on the same page about almost everything. We have the same attitude about how a relationship should go. We want to be around each other. We want to be included in each other's shit, but we don't want any expectations put on us. And I did not go to my prom, but the year after I graduated from high school, I went with my girlfriend who was a year younger than me, who was still in high school. I went to her prom. Eric said, I don't give a fuck who I live with. Fuck it. What's the difference? As long as there's titties and blowjobs, I'll be fine. Well, it turns out that's not true. Oh, personality disorders. You are such a frustrating group of things, aren't you? Aren't those personality disorders frustrating? You know why they're frustrating? Because you can't fix them. Leaf trimmer. Will you stop trying to attack every woman constantly about everything? Will you just let her have a conversation? This is what I'm talking about, dealing with idiots. Check out the video. Okay, well, it's very difficult for me to very difficult for me to click links from here. Well, not very difficult, but unpleasantly difficult. Come on, leaf trimmer. You're treating her as an attorney treats somebody on the witness stand. That's not interviewing, it's interrogating. I mean, like, it's possible. Search Foamy the Squirrel. Stop protecting stupid people. Okay. I'll have to check it out. Especially since somebody else here also knows about this thing. I'll check it out. Foamy the Squirrel. Stop protecting stupid people. I have to mute myself briefly so I don't get copyrighted. Yeah, stop protecting idiots is a good idea. Have I tried vaping? I have tried vaping, and I gotta tell you, it what was I saying? I don't even remember. Because the title of the video, Leaf Trimmer, the title of the video is dealing with idiots. And that video there is very relevant to it. Vaping, right. Vaping makes me cough too much. I think it's worse for you than smoking. It's like, I know that the conventional wisdom is that vaping's better than smoking for you, but based on my own experience and how it feels to my chest, I believe smoking is less bad than vaping. And that's an example of me preferring SI over NI, you know? I could be wrong about that, but I acknowledge that my SI may be misleading me badly. That's possible. But I don't know. I trust the way my body feels more than I trust what some scientist says. It's the same reason why I don't usually get concentrate. I just get weed. If you get the right concentrate, this isn't the truth. But for most concentrate, it's very coffee. It makes me cough a lot, and I don't like that. I smoke so much weed that how much I cough matters. Same with Rachel. You know, I try to find less coffee weed because she's so coffee. I feel like it's how you breathe. You intake differently when you're vaping. Oh, okay. But the other thing about concentrate is I never vape concentrate, or almost never. I always just put it on top of bowls. Well, the thing is, the particulates in vaping may be less damaging kinds of particulates, but they're much smaller. So they embed much more deeply in your lungs. I mean, there's good evidence, for example, that vaping is more addictive than smoking, although I can't imagine anything being more addictive than smoking, really. But that vaping will get you more addicted to nicotine than smoking will. But I mean, the thing is, I wonder about the flavor and the glycerol. Like, why are we so convinced that the flavoring and the glycerol aren't bad for your lungs? Is there some reason for that? I just don't like the way it makes my lungs feel. So that's why I don't vape. Although, you know, if somebody brought over a vape rig and some concentrate, I'd certainly have a field day. You know, I'm not opposed to it entirely. I just you know, I don't know. I just don't trust vaping. I'm going with my gut. Besides which, I probably wouldn't matter that I don't trust it if I liked it, but I don't like it, so that's that. My daughter vapes. Well, she goes back and forth. She vapes and then she quits, and then she vapes and she quits. I had the most interesting toothpaste last night. Speaking of this, I got I pulled out a tube from the drawer because in my former parents' master bathroom, they have drawers full of collected soaps, shampoos, mouthwashes, toothbrushes, and etc. that they took from hotels and motels and stuff throughout their life. Every time there was unused soap, there was a bar of soap that didn't get used or something, they'd take it home and put it in this drawer. So And I'm always pulling out, okay, let's see. This soap here looks good. It's from some Best Western hotel in 1982. Perfect. This will be exactly the soap I need to clean myself. Anyway, there was this small tube of Aquafresh toothpaste in there that it has the most interesting flavor to it. I can't identify the flavor quite yet, but it tastes just like something they use at the dentist office. It tastes like going to the dentist office. So I'm going to suggest Rachel try that as well. Ghostwriter, when you say you prefer just a pipe, a nug, and some sugar wax on top, simple, that's not a bad approach. But the thing is, I'm ahead, you know. It's hard for me to get high smoking off of a pipe because I can't take big enough hits. I like long pipes. Taking the soaps and stuff is trashy. I mean, my parents are weird. It's like they have a very nice home in the suburbs, investments, money, and stuff, you know. And yet my dad would shop every weekend at the swap meet. He refused to buy a new car. The first new car he bought ever was a Mini Cooper in 2006. Prior to that, his entire life, he'd only bought used cars. He considered buying new cars a foolish endeavor. And he hasn't bought a new car since. He still buys used cars. So he used to buy our cars at the government auction. He's TE'd on them. You know? So that it makes perfect sense to take the soaps and shit that they leave there for you at the hotel. You know, if you're a TE dom, well, why buy soap? Well, we go on vacation all the time and collect these soaps. We don't need to buy soap. The thing is, in the olden days, they used to put more out there for you than they do nowadays because there's also a bunch of little hotel bottles of scope mouthwash, you know? So I don't think they put that out there anymore for you. There's some of the soaps that are so old. They're like from some hotel that no longer exists from 1972 or something that I don't want to use them. It's just like, okay, this is too cool. I don't even want to use this soap. Right. So, and Winston's mom, when my dad did buy that one new car, which was the Mini Cooper, when they started reproducing them, it was because it was an SI thing. He has his own personal history he raced Mini Coopers in Europe in the 60s, and so he wanted to treat himself, and he bought a new car. And so that was like his FI winning out over his TE one time. How about people I know who prefer leasing a car? Because if the car has any issues, the lease covers it. I mean, if you're going to buy the car with monthly payments, that stretch over into like 3 years, then leasing starts to make sense. Because because you're not really buying the car anyway, you know? By the time you pay all of the interest and stuff, then it kind of makes sense to lease. You're losing that much almost anyway. But if you have the cash up front to buy a car, then it makes no sense to lease. And that's the thing is, I don't think my dad has ever purchased a car, nor me for that matter, except all cash up front. You know, when I got the Mini Cooper, you know, we wrote him a check for $16,000. It wasn't like I'll pay this much now and some more later or whatever. Pay the whole thing right there. And don't get a car until you have that money saved up. You know, that's my approach towards car buying. But you know, a lot of people buy cars on credit, so that's a different matter. If you're buying cars on credit, then leasing makes a little bit of sense. And renting, right? I rented for it probably seems like you could lay down the law on someone maybe. Oh Jesus. Whew. Yesterday was a rough day for Delilah. Delilah had a meeting with Granddaddy, and Granddaddy is not happy. No, it was a good deal. It was a good deal. It was actually less than 16. It was, you know, the number on the car was like 12 something, and you know, walk out of there paying the fees and everything for like 14 something, I think. But maybe 15 something. But the thing is, it was the newest model we could afford. And one of the reasons that it was cheaper actually is that it's a stick shift. But I think that, yeah, Mega Bro is brilliant. Mega Bro is absolutely brilliant. But he's just not a conversationalist. He's an INTJ. And he's not like Winston's mom kind of INTJ. He's, well, I mean, you know, he's heavily epipolar. So Granddaddy's not happy because Delilah's still not graduated from college. He's paying for her college. And of course, this is something that he set up like when she was born, right? Now, son, I'm going to handle the mom. Because I know you're not going to. Okay. You're going to handle the what now? Well, we're going to start a college fund and we're going to make sure the blah, blah, blah. Okay. Sounds good to me. You are correct. I'm not going to start a college fund. I don't place much value into college, though. Well, that's why I'm doing it. Okay? Just want, you know, you're the father, so I want your approval. You do your shit, Dad. Don't even worry about it. You're not stepping on my toes. So, the thing is, of course, he's getting old, and being a little less rational than he sometimes has been in the past. And Delilah's having problems getting this class she needs because, partially because of COVID. It's like they haven't offered it. They're not, may or may not be offering it this winter quarter. And my dad loves to make idle threats. You know, if you can't finish by now, that's it. You can expect nothing else from me. But this is all bullshit. Okay? He says this kind of bullshit periodically. And at a certain point in my childhood, I realized, oh, this is always bullshit. But Delilah here's the difference. I can ignore NI, which means I can ignore the NI absurdities that come along with an ESTJ. But she's SI ignoring. So she keeps being surprised by this. I mean, I get what you're saying, Leaf Charmer, except the reality is my dad expects very little. Expects very reasonable things. So, you know, she's not good at communicating with him, and she's not good at doing theater stuff. Like, my dad expects a certain amount of TE theater. You know, I need to schedule a time for me to go take my mom for a walk pretty soon. Why? Well, the reality is because I'm doing preventative defense against my dad busting my chops. But, you know, that's not... the answer is supposed to be because I love my mom or something like that, right? But I'm a little bit more realistic, I guess, about that than most people. My mom is not my mom. My mom is still my mom, but you know, I don't. To the extent that she gets anything out of my visiting her, I'm not sure. I find the whole thing depressing. I don't know how to process it really when I go visit her. I know that it's going to be a day of slow processing as I'm trying to come to terms with this nagging thing that bothers me when I'm going through the day. Delilah is chill enough. Well, Delilah was sobbing on the phone with me after meeting with my dad yesterday. And her central point of upsetness was that she felt unjustly accused of not caring about the family because she's not putting on the theater shit, right? Of course, she, like me, countervalues TE. And so my dad's like, you know, Delilah, do you even know anything about what to do if I were to die all of a sudden? How to take care of grandmother? Do you even care about that? And the answer is it's possible to care without prioritizing a TE frame of reference. You know, I don't need to do things to show that I'm attending to problems and goals in order to care. And this is fundamentally the problem with TE frame of reference, right? Is it's not always easy to explain how you care when you're not pointing to examples of doing stuff, you know? But the fact is, I don't have to do anything to care a shitload about that glorious beauty. Look at that kitty. That is a magnificent beast. Oh, magnificent beast. Oh, noble wonder of kittydom. She's a noble wonder of kittydom. Boy, when there's that much cuteness next to you, it's pretty distracting. Pretty distracting. I was thinking of a scenario where a baseball player is sitting in a room talking to himself, and his girlfriend walks in, but he doesn't notice her. And he says, "I love you." And it's the first time he said it to her. And she says, "I love you too." And he turns around and he has a mitt that he's chewing on. He says, "No, I said I gloved you." She's not scary. She has a lot. I mean, she gets just nonstop love. It's like Rachel's like 10 times as much like this with the cat as I am. Ghost Rider. So have you had that successfully treated to the extent that Rachel's had it successfully treated? Because now that I've seen the reality of it, which is it's possible to be completely treated for that. Anytime somebody says something like that, like they got bipolar, I want to know if they're being treated properly for it, because it is possible to completely successfully treat that if you get the right combination of drugs. And if you're not on the combination Rachel's on, you should try it. She's here all the time. She was here yesterday. She's just asleep, you know. She doesn't get up this early. Okay, so she takes Klonopin at night, along with olanzapine, and then she takes Prozac or fluoxetine in the morning. So she takes Clonny and olanzapine at night, and she takes fluoxetine in the morning. It's particularly, according to the psychiatrist, it's specifically the combination of those two things, the aloxapine plus Prozac. There's a specific drug that combines the two that's super expensive, but you can get the two separately, and then it's not super expensive. And it's like the magic bullet for bipolar. Now, if you also have the mania component, then you'll probably also need the Klonopin at night to sleep. But I cannot overstate the magic bullet quality of this. She went from varying degrees of crazy, more or less managed well, to totally sane. Tom Cruise would highly disagree with me here, and he'd be completely wrong. I mean, Rachel, yeah, it is light switch. It happened like the first or second day too that she took that combination of drugs. It was light switch. it's entirely changed my perspective about mental health because, I too had my doubts about those kind of things. You keep giving her all these pills, but she's still crazy. But I no longer do. I am a believer. And anybody who's watched this channel through this process is also a believer because what happened continually prior to her switching those drugs was a bunch of, Eric, this is not the right girl for you. This isn't going to work out. You guys are fighting a lot. She's crazy. I don't think you should be in this relationship. And since I haven't heard any of that shit, none. That tells you everything you need to know. Because I've got all these intuitive people using their intuition to make reads about Rachel and me. And so when there are problems, I hear about it. I heard about it with Kimberly all the time. I heard about it with Rachel all the time until we got her on the right drugs. Well, Nicholas Watson, that is potentially a problem. However, that's a problem that seems like it's quite some stretch away because she's still on low dosages, very low dosages of all of those. And the other nice thing is well, there is another factor too, which is as long as her people won't take their meds because their life is better without them. That may be the case for some people, but it definitely wasn't the case for Rachel. To the extent that she stopped taking her meds, it was because they weren't really working. Last Christmas, Rachel was running around the neighborhood, unplugging people's Christmas lights, and eventually squirting the hose in my dad's garage, ruining our garage door opener, and squirting water into my dad's car on the grounds that there were people having sex inside of it. Now that is crazy. You want to talk about crazy? That's crazy. Last Christmas, she peaked out at her maximal episode of craziness. That the police got involved on two separate occasions. That's crazy. She had to be hospitalized and sedated by the doctors and put into a mental facility for a few days. That's crazy. So the thing is, when went into finding this private psychiatrist, I wanted to make sure that she got prescribed, that she wasn't put on benzos, because I didn't want her to get addicted to them. I think that's generally a good idea. But Rachel, being addicted to benzos is nothing compared to being crazy. Being addicted to benzos causes her no consequences at all. She takes half a milligram of Klonopin every night to sleep. And I'm pretty careful about. Sometimes I'll take half a milligram to sleep as well. Or like last night, I took a full milligram to sleep. But I always try to skip a few days in between when I do that, at least sometimes a week or whatever, because I don't want to get hooked on them. You know? And I can see how you can get hooked on them. The main reason I took it last night was not so much to sleep, but because it was going to put me in a good mood. And it did, you know? It was like I went from fucking furious to playing songs, you know, and telling bedtime stories. And that's nice. They do prescribe it as an anti-anxiety drug. Now, whether or not that's an appropriate use of a drug, I'm not sure. Well, the thing is, Leaf Trimmer, thank you for saying I had patience. But what I would also say is I just did the same thing I always do. I did the same thing I always do, which is I said, but this isn't the story I'm telling. I'm not telling the story of a relationship that fails because I got with somebody who was mentally ill. That's not the story I'm telling. And it's frustrating when reality defies my storytelling. The shocking and beautiful thing in this instance is I won. The story I was telling was true. I do have no control over my emotions. I have very little control over my emotions. That's part of what it means to be bipolar, you know? I'm super emotional right now just thinking about it. Patience is not the opposite of an emotion. That coffee's really good. Yeah, everybody wants to play poker with Oster. Oster's a terrible poker player. That's true. I mean, I don't see my story in the end as being about successful treatment of bipolar condition. I see my story at the end as see, I was right. If we could just fix this one thing, Rachel and I would be perfect for each other. That's how I see it. Is finally, I was right about something that's not a logical matter. For the first time in my life, practically. You know, because I'm always wrong. If you want to catch me contradicting myself, all you got to do is reference my comments about my relationships from the past. I'm always telling the same story, but it's never true until this one. So the story I tell in every relationship I've ever been in is, you are the love of my life, and I'm going to be with you forever, and we're together forever, and we're perfect. And if we both agree with that story, then that will become reality. And it never has worked out before. It's always failed. But this time it worked. You might well point out, well, then maybe, Eric, your story had nothing to do with it. You may well point that out. And that might be true. But again, that's not the story I'm telling. Namaste, namaste. Do you have to go away to say namaste? Or can you stay? No, you can't stay. Namaste. Oh, wonder kitty. So delightful and good. Your father loves you with his emotion heart. Do you know that I use my emotion heart to love my cat? All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm feeling sleepy, kind of. Maybe like I'm going to watch a little bit more of Ace of the Diamond. I'm currently fairly deep into Ace of the Diamond, which is an anime series. And it's a very, very ridiculous baseball show in which, at this point, they've got so many characters involved that every pitch in the show. So the main guy, Sawakamura, or whatever his name is, he's a lefty. So I should really use my other hand. And he'll be about to throw a pitch. But before the pitch gets thrown, first, no, don't spoil the ending for me. Do not spoil the ending for me, please. But, okay, so here's what happens. Before he throws a pitch, he's about to throw it. First, he reflects on how important this pitch is, of course. You know, 'cause it's a huge pitch, as they all are. Then the coach reflects on how important the pitch is. Then the guy who stands behind the coach reflects on how important the pitch is. Then this couple in the stands that I call endlessly curious woman and endlessly knowledgeable man, they each have their perspective. So the girl goes, it looks like they've moved their players over there. And then the guy goes, they're trying to do blah, 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 blah. And she goes, they watch every game. Their relationship is always the same. She makes an observation. He explains it. Then there are the reflections. Keep in mind, he's started the pitch at this point, right? Then there are the reflections of the teams that they've already beat in the stands, okay? Yeah, endlessly curious woman and endlessly knowledgeable man, right? That's this couple in the stands. And then there's the players from the teams that they've already beat or who they're yet to play. And they have each of the captains of those teams go, Sakamura is nervous right now. He's not going to make this pitch. And another guy goes, is he really a first year with that kind of power? And then another guy goes, Then they'll briefly show the girls in the stands who are like the fans with the trumpety things they talk through. There's 4 of them, and they each have a slightly different personality. The one at the end being the one who's less feminine. So they go, and then the second one goes, and the third one goes, and the fourth one goes, It's just like, keep in mind where we are in the game, right? Then they cut to the shortstop, second baseman going, 2 outs, 2 outs. And the first baseman and third baseman going, focus on the batter, focus on the batter. You got this, you got this. And then back to Samakura. My teammates are depending on me. End of episode. That's how this thing goes. Then the next episode opens with, it was a strike. Oh my God. Amazing. We were watching this yesterday, Rachel and I, and we get through an episode and go, okay, we're out of the bottom of the fourth inning. Finally. We're on the next episode. Hey, that episode got us all the way through the top half of the fifth inning and 1 out into the bottom half of the fifth inning. That's pretty good. These things, to watch a baseball game in this show takes substantially longer than to watch an actual baseball game. In addition, in the middle of these games, if this were an actual game, the referee would have to be constantly taking reminiscence timeouts, right? The umpire. The umpire would be going, timeout, play call, timeout, pitcher reminiscing, team having random meeting in the middle of the game for 10 minutes. But nevertheless, I am invested. I am invested in what's going on, and I want to see what happens in the tournament, whether they make nationals. And I'm hoping they retain the coach, because there's this alternate coach, right, who's a guy with a little goatee. He's constantly tugging on it. And just right from the start, you say, like, get your hands off your goatee, you bad guy coach. I can tell you're a bad guy coach. And the thing is, over the course of, since he's been there now, there was this scene where he's talking to school administrators, right? These school administrators are also bad guys. They're just dumb bad guys. They want to replace the existing coach, who's really good, but hasn't actually made nationals in like 5 years, with this goatee coach, right? And then, well, no, he wasn't Bill Walton. He was more like smug, too cool for school coach. But he just, I don't like you weasel, you. But it turns out in the end that he's honest, and he goes, no, I can't actually take credit for any of this success that they're having. I actually gave him a few tips here and there about how to pitch this or that, but this team's performing this well because of the way that your current coach is coaching the team. He's doing a brilliant job. It's like, oh, evil coach. It just goes to show you. You may be a douchebag, but if you're honest, that's what matters. Anyway, I'm enjoying Ace of the Diamond. And I think I'm going to watch some more of that now. And there was one more thing. Oh, yeah. Mrs. Mom wanted to have a song before we go. That sounds nice. I'd like to play a song. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot. Margarine, tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what to call Christmas. When they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work after rough. He'd get back to it eventually. But his visions piled up, and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. Now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing the fact list to Elizabeth. So how all other people gonna shout his name? And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't provide explanation, explaining the how while. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Exciting, dividing, Gerald plays his part. And Gerald still knew there's too much to do. And he'll drop down in the underview. Too much to rebut. Now, how, now, and what? Too much time picking the skew with you. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name changing business. Thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a heart. People drool over me. One of my more challenging realities in life is that everywhere I go, people drool on me. It's really disgusting. And I say, that's a form of assault, frankly. I know you're not doing it intentionally, but you are getting your saliva all over me. And I'd appreciate it if you'd stop. There's something about me that makes drooling people want to drool on me. I'm like, God, why do I have so many occasions to use the verb drool? It's like such a specific verb. Anyhow, be glad, Diamond. Be glad that people don't drool over you. It's not fun. It's disgusting. It smells. Only Christians and Muslims know God. Diamond, I suggest that you and I ascribe to the following self-identification. I like to tell people the following thing. I'm not spiritual. I'm spiritual some. Okay? I'm spiritual some. Being spiritual some is like being spiritual, but a little bit less. You don't want to be spiritual all. That's too much spirit. You want to be spiritual some. That's the appropriate amount of spiritual. Spiritual some. Yeah. Are you spiritual? Well, I'm spiritual some. Is a good response. Thank you all for being here. And don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Will you stop trying to start fights all the time, Leaf Trimmer?